Senator Patterson, you have the call.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to ask some questions about the Microsoft announcement. Very exciting news. So obviously this is the first time that Microsoft and ASD have worked together on cybersecurity.
No.
Oh, really?
No.
That's the impression that I got from the government's announcement. This is new. How long has ASD been working with Microsoft for?
We have had a relationship with Microsoft for 2 decades.
Oh.
We have had Microsoft has been a member of our cybersecurity partnership program since 2019, and more recently in 2021 we signed a memorandum of understanding with them. But this is a very new commitment between Microsoft and ASD to share what we call indicators of compromise or information about malicious cyber activity at a large scale with ASD.
You weren't already doing that threat intelligence sharing with Microsoft? You weren't already sharing indicators of compromise with them?
We were, but not in the way that this new partnership will enable. So it was more, I suppose, manual in the way that we were able to move some of this cybersecurity information between Microsoft and ASD. What has been committed to here is an ability for us to share that information really in near real time from a machine-to-machine capability at large scale. And by that I mean in the context of Microsoft being able to share with us all knowledge that they have about any threat to any Australian.
That is very good and that is welcome. How much of the $5 billion investment will be borne by the Australian government and taxpayers?
I can only speak to the Cyber Shield aspect of the announcement, and in that case each of us, Microsoft and ASD, to the extent that either of us might need to make technical or engineering changes in our own systems and networks to ensure that machine-to-machine sharing can occur, each of us will bear the cost of that if necessary.
What do you anticipate that to be in ASD's case?
Well, it may be no more cost to us if Microsoft is able to share the data in a format with us that can be ingested by the cyber threat intelligence sharing platform that has already been funded. And
I appreciate you may not be the right person to ask this. You're just the most relevant witness to appear since the announcement, so forgive me for asking you, but do you have more visibility on the breakdown of that $5 billion investment that's been committed to? How much is going on data centres? How much is going on cyber security? How much is going on training?
No, I don't have that breakdown. I imagine the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet might, having coordinated the initiative for the Prime Minister.
Yeah. Do you know why the Minister for Home Affairs and Cybersecurity was left off the announcement and it was the Minister for Industry who was on the announcement instead?
No, I don't have any insight into that.
We would have asked these questions to PM&C or Home Affairs, but the announcement came after estimates for those agencies, so we didn't have the opportunity to direct those questions to them. Red Spice is part of the enabling of your increased investment in cybersecurity. How much of Red Spice resources will be put to this task?
So you may recall that there were 2 related announcements to the cyber threat intelligence sharing platform that I mentioned that we hope will be able to be utilised with Microsoft. So there was an announcement by the former government in, I think it was June 2020, to the Caesar Plus funding that you might recall, which was a package of funding in the context of the 2020 cybersecurity strategy. At that time, there was an announcement that $35 million would go into that threat sharing platform, which we have subsequently built. Caesar Plus was a 4-year lapsing measure, if you like, and Red Spice as a longer 10-year integrated investment program has and will subsequently ensure that our ability to continue to build, mature that platform and sustain it into the future.
Okay, thank you. Moving on more broadly to budget matters for ASD, when you last appeared before estimates, I asked you about a cut of $9.3 million over 4 years, which the government had taken from ASD as part of funding greater intelligence oversight for the intelligence community. And I asked you at the time, how would you identify those savings? And you said that was something you were going to have to consider because it was in the immediate aftermath of the budget. Have you had an opportunity to consider further where those savings will have to be made?
Yes, we have.
And in what areas?
So we will are focusing on trying to create efficiencies, including in our processes for ICT, and that is the sort of, operating budget for our ICT backbone in travel and also in contractors.
Okay, thank you. We also discussed another cut, which was a not-for-publication cut, so we can't discuss where that money went or even how much it was. But obviously that's another area of savings that you have to find within your budget. Will it be drawn from the same areas as the $9.3 million cut or other areas?
Yes, we're focusing on those three categories of activities to find those efficiencies.
Yep. Obviously, defence budgeting is a unique beast, which I don't profess to be an expert of every detail of, but I just want to clarify whether there is going to be any further reprioritisation within the integrated investment program that would affect ASD, whether ASD resources will be required to fund any other defence activities?
Not that we're aware of, and I think I said last time that we deliver 11 programs within the integrated investment program. Some are for ASD's capabilities, some are for shared capabilities between us and the ADF and the Department of Defence, and some we actually deliver for the ADF or Defence. So,
because the government has nominated a headline figure for overall cuts but hasn't specified where all of that is going to be funded from, and if it's not from within Defence, it may have to come from other agencies. But I'm pleased to hear that no further has come at your expense at this stage, and we might return to that at a subsequent estimates. Just finally, Chair, I'll have some questions about the aftermath of the HWL Ebsworth attack. Is ASD in a position to state with any confidence the threat actor who's responsible for that attack?
So I know that you asked a line of questioning of the AFP Commissioner earlier this week, maybe it was only yesterday, and I understand he talked about that as being an ongoing law enforcement investigation. So we are certainly providing advice and assistance to the Australian Federal Police in that context. If we are able to assist and provide input from a technical point of view to an attribution that might eventuate, subject to the AFP's investigation and that outcome, then we will do so, and that will be, there's a formal process within the whole of government for that, that is co-chaired by Home Affairs and the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and it's a board, I believe, that we are a member of, and will input to that process if we have technical information where we can attribute.
Okay. But based on what you know so far, is there anything to contradict the group that's publicly claimed responsibility for the attack?
I don't want to comment on that publicly because the AFP have testified that it's an ongoing investigation, and I'd be concerned that to sort of affirm one way or the other our understanding, I wouldn't understand how that might impede their activities. So.
Sure. So since I last asked you at estimates, has ASD been asked to provide any information on attributions for the purposes of Magnitsky cyber sanctions? I think at the time you said you had in one instance.
Yes, we have.
In more instances since that time?
Yes.
How many can you say?
At least one.
Miss Bradshaw, at least one.
At least one
further.
other. Right. So there are, to ASD's satisfaction, there's at least two different threat actor groups who are responsible for some kind of malicious cyber activity to Australia that can be confidently attributed or can be assessed.
they're not necessarily different cyber incidents, but perhaps different individuals who may have been part of the same syndicate or group who were giving effect to the same incident. So I just want to be careful there, unless Ms. Bradshaw. Yes.
And for you to do that, you have to have very high levels of confidence technically to make an attribution like that or an assessment like that.
Yes.
Were these groups involved in the same incident or different incidents?
The same incident.
And can you say which region of the world they were based in?
No, I really feel it's important to leave that to the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade and Home Affairs to make a decision balanced with all the equities and inputs from across government.
Fair enough. Just separately then from the Magnitsky cyber sanctions, one of the other consequences we can give effect to for malicious cyber activity when they are taking place offshore is to respond with offensive cyber capabilities. Has the government directed you to engage in any offensive cyber activities against malicious cyber actors?
We have authorisation under the Intelligence Services Act, which enables us to undertake offensive cyber activities, deny, degrade, disrupt, or even destroy infrastructure overseas used by people who are not Australians when they are undertaking cybercrime activities against Australia. So it's a standing authorisation that the Deputy Prime Minister, our Minister, provides to us, and that we have a current authorisation for that, and we will use that to undertake activities consistent with what we're authorised to do on a standing basis against cyber criminals and other actors as we might have the opportunity to do so. And that's actually the legal authorisation basis as well for the joint task force we have with the Australian Federal Police.
So have you used those authorities since the last time, or in the last year, let's say?
Yes.
On how many occasions?
I would have to take that on notice. It's something that we're doing in a range of activities all the time.
Would it be half a dozen, more than a dozen, 100 times, just ballpark so that I'm kind of...
It'd be in the tens, like 30 to 50 individual activities perhaps.
And to be clear, this is... And to be clear, this is solely actors of a criminal nature. This is not offensive against nation-state interests.
No, our targets are cyber criminal syndicates.
Yep. And any of those groups you've taken those offensive actions against among the two that you've attributed for responsibility for those cyber attacks?
Yes.
Yes, same syndicate.
Yep. And how do you assess the effectiveness of your operations?
Well, we actually have a formal process internally where we'll do what we call it's a part of our military history, a battle damage assessment, where we will look for whether we have created an effect from our activity, from either the syndicate is no longer able to perform their criminal operations, to the syndicate has lost their reputation as a consequence, so others perhaps won't use their services because they don't feel they can trust them anymore. So it's quite a spectrum of, what success looks like for us.
And so to come back to the question, how effective do you think those operations have been?
Oh, very effective.
Yep.
Yes, but unfortunately it's like painting the Sydney Harbour Bridge, the threat out there, the proliferation of criminal activity. We can have big impacts on syndicates. Unfortunately, it usually is a matter of time before they've regrouped somehow.
And there are a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Director General.